Hi, friend.
Hi, friend. Are you ready
Ready for what?
to level up?
Okay, girl, let's get started. Hi, friends. Welcome to another episode of Level Up with Raman and Alysha.
Hi, everyone. On today's episode, we'll be talking about how we and you and all of us are all influencers and how we all get influenced.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about how maybe something we post on social media or what you tell your friends or how you talk to your friends can influence them. And then how your friends can influence you or your family members or in relationships, and kind of like how it can be either toxic or it can be good for you.
Yeah, for sure. I think growing up, we always see I always thought teachers and adults, I don't know why all adults, but no, not all adults influence you in a good way. But Someone that was older than me, like as like a mentor or somebody that would kind of give me positive influence or influence me in the right direction, maybe where to head out and stuff like that. But I think now as we've like grown up and we are in a different place in our life, we do understand that as adults, everybody that we meet, we influence in some way. Um, and it's up to us on how we want to make sure that that influence happens. And I know I've told you, like, I want to make sure that anybody that I meet at this point in my life, I want to make sure that we have a positive influence on them. They have a positive experience with us, and we kind of leave a good, positive, long-lasting memory versus kind of a negative one.
Yeah, no, I know you've mentioned that, and I completely agree with you. And I think you've also helped me shape that too. But also just the fact, like, I think as we've gotten older, like, I personally want to just be a better person in that sense.
Hmm.
I don't want to, I know sometimes I can come off as a kutijanani, but that's not always my intention. Like, underneath all the hard shell, I do have a softer layer. And I feel like I want people to know that, like, I am also here to be nice to you and stuff. But more so, like,
Yeah,
the fact when I think about it, people already do open up to me naturally, like, and start telling me their entire life story.
that is true.
And, which is all fine. And I'm all for helping them. But, sometimes, you can either you don't know if what you're saying everyone needs to agree with. And I think that's where I'm trying to learn the difference, is that maybe what I'm saying to them, although I have their best interest at heart, maybe they may not always agree with that because they still have a different life. We're all different. That doesn't mean if
Yeah.
I say try this way, they're going to have to try that way. And that's something I've had to come into terms with, that even though people come to me for advice, they may not always take my advice.
Yeah, you can only, take the horse to the water. You can't make it drink the water.
Oh, I like
And
that.
and I think we all have to kind of do our part to at least help people in the most positive way. But yeah, you're right. It's unfortunate because not everybody will always take your advice or kind of hear you out. And then you kind of wonder, like, okay, should I even, bother and kind of thing. But I think it's because like we care for the people around us. So we always want to make sure that we're always still giving them positive advice. I know, like, now every time, because I wish I had somebody in my life. Um, Okay, sorry, backing up a little, before, I wish I had somebody in my life at a young age that was like a positive influence on me or somebody, that I looked up to. I think it's great now that, the younger generation does have social media. But the only thing that sucks is when I think of, okay, when you think of influencer on social media, like what is the first like type of influencer that comes to your head?
I personally think role model. I think like an influencer is someone who's going to be, subject expert on a certain niche in their life. So whether it be makeup, health, um, inspirational things, motivational, or manifesting. Like, these are the type of people I follow. Wives, mothers, people who cook. These are the kind of people I follow. So they're all influencers that I like. By following them, I'm supporting their business, which is influencing them.
Yeah, 100%. And you know what? I'm so happy that you mentioned that, like, you're following subject matter experts, so influencers that are actually going to be beneficial to you and your lifestyle and what you are interested in and what you want to learn about. But I feel like when I also think about influencers, okay, the two like top things I think about are like these Instagram models that get the title of an influencer, but like they're not really influencing people with anything. Like they're showing their fashion and they're showing like their outfits and stuff like that, but they get labeled as an influencer. But I feel like people are not learning anything from them versus having influencers that are subject matter experts. And then, you know, people do follow them and actually get to learn things from them. So it's unfortunate, I feel like, in terms of like, I wish that some of these influencers that are just kind of like fashion influencers or like fashion Instagram models, that they actually used their platform to influence like their younger audience or, you know, older. And like, you know, there's obviously a lot of guys that follow these hot girls too, but also
Mhm.
used their platform to create like a positive influence or create like light on a subject or, you know, like that girl that I recently told you about that, you know, we just talked about
Yeah.
the girl who basically used her platform to educate people about like what how the Indian culture actually got its like clothing attire and stuff like that from. So it's it sucks that like not all these influencers I feel like use their platform to kind of like educate people, but that's why I think like we should see ourselves as all influencers and like realize that anybody that we meet, like we should be kind of teaching them something or like not teaching them something, but you know, like creating a positive experience.
So I totally get what you're saying. And when I was younger and I first got onto Instagram, I followed everything and everyone. But then in the last few years, I've actually triggered down to unfollowing a lot of people that I haven't viewed their account in a while, that aren't adding value to my everyday like life. Mind you, I'm still following quite a few people, but I have my favorites that I still check on. And I have to disagree with you to a certain degree because I'm following a lot more brown community now too. I'm
Mhm.
supporting my brown girl in the South Asian community in Toronto, in Mississauga, local girls in Vancouver, you know, because I, and I've said this before about Priyanka Chopra. Uh, I just don't think she did enough for the South Asian community of women in Hollywood to be the first woman here.
Mhm.
And so I'm all for the brown, the Bangladesh girl, the Muslim girl, the Sikh girl, the Hindu girl, the Gujarati girls, from Kushal to Nabila to these top YouTube girls from Arshia in New York. I followed all these brown girls, even the girl who came up with Live Tinted, Deepika. They're all different backgrounds, and I still
Mhm.
watch their stories. Each one brings something different to the table. Arshia, I grew up watching her as a YouTube individual in New York, married a Hindu guy, you know, showed her entire Hindu wedding, but has been so honest and real
Wait,
throughout her
what's her
entire.
name?
Arshia Murjani. I don't know how to say her last name.
Okay, okay.
She's
I'm
from
like,
New
is that
York.
the one I was trying to find? But no, I don't think that's her.
No, she just had a baby. So she, you know, she really promotes all kinds of things. She shows you the good and the bad. Same thing with Kushal. Kushal from the UK. She's this Gujarati girl married to Vex King. You've probably seen his quotes and, you know, heard about his book and stuff. And that's where I've learned to become like, I've learned a lot through her over the years because that's where
Mhm.
she's really inspirational. She has a meditation room. You know, she has a soothing voice, but she's even created a platform on Facebook on a group chat for her angels, and that's what she calls them. And she says,
Oh,
ask anything on here. Let's support each other. Let's help each other out in this, like, you know, area. Then I follow Nabila, who is a plus side curve model. You know, she also is someone
she
who's
does the
dealing with,
house design.
yes,
Her
the
house
house.
is beautiful.
Yes, but she was known before that to be someone who raised her voice as a Bangladesh Muslim girl, to first be the first girl to marry like a white guy out of her family to break that norm. She was known also to be the girl that speaks about size and PCOS being the third
Mhm.
huge thing that she's known for. Then, yeah, the house stuff and all that came after, but originally she's cried on reels. She shows you the real thing. She's talked about the fact that she's struggling to have a child. She tells you that I'm having a bad day because someone decided to write under my picture that I'm a fat cow or I'm ugly. And those are her
Oh,
exact words. And she's broken down crying. And she's like, it's so hard to be in this social media life of everyone that's so skinny and picture perfect. And I'm just trying to find myself.
Yeah.
And so I do feel like there's a lot of women who do use their platform to express the real good and bad. And then I follow some Mississauga Caucasian women, Italian girls and stuff. Their moms, they're very beautiful, very petite. And kind of like, where do they get all this money? How do they have these beautiful homes and all these 4 children? How do they do it? They're 32 and I'm exhausted at the age of 31 just by going to work. And I'm like, I don't understand. But then they also come through and they're like, I'm having a bad day today, and they come through and they're like, I'm doing this. The one thing about influencers that does sometimes scares me is, are the things they're promoting, whether it be makeup, hair, food, whatever it is, are they getting paid to do it? And some of them are. And the question is, how real are they being? Like,
Yeah.
when they're promoting some of this stuff. And, if you get to know an influencer really well and you watch them every day, I think you start to realize who's really real and who's not. So
Yeah.
I definitely agree with you with the platform part. I do follow people that make me feel good. I follow people who I want to feel good about and I want to learn from. And I used to follow the skinny, like hot, curvy hourglass girls because I thought it would motivate me to become like them. But it
Mhm.
didn't. It didn't make me feel so great because they weren't being raw or real, you know?
Yeah, there are a lot of like girls like that. Like that's what I was mentioning. A lot of girls that are just on the platform being called influencers, but they're really just there to kind of take like hot girl summer pictures. And I feel
Yes.
like those girls were not really adding value to my Instagram as well. And although, like, yeah, like I was like you, I was like, I'm going to follow these girls and, it'll motivate me to work out or whatever the case is. And a lot of people do follow like a lot of workout influencers too to kind of get motivated. But you do have, obviously, like as you mentioned, should follow people that are subject matter experts in things that you're interested in, and not just follow like the random girl where all she's posting is like the hot photos, but she's not actually like providing any other insight. And I think like now with social media, which I was getting to, that I wish I knew, like I had somebody like when we were younger, we didn't have social media, but now this generation has so much access to so many different influencers and so much information like on the palm of their hands, like they have cell phones before we even knew what cell phones were. So um they have so much information on their hands and so much access. So I think like they should be, it's hard because I think it does come with age too. So
It
I feel
does.
like if I were to meet a younger person, I am that person where I'm going to be like, work hard in school, like don't fuck up and make sure you're not wasting your time doing this and that and stuff like that, because it's like things that I wish I had when I was younger. So I want to make sure that when I'm meeting younger people now, that I'm kind of telling them what I wish somebody told me when I was younger. So I want
Hmm.
to make sure that like whether they listen or not, some of them are probably like, oh, this punk ass 30-year-old is trying to give me life advice. But like
No, they're like
I
this
do,
auntie.
yeah, I know, right? But I feel like it's important. It's like it's something I find really important to tell younger people. As soon as someone tells me they're like 16 or younger, I'm like, listen, just work hard. Like, I tell them all the things that I wish somebody was there to tell me. And I feel like that's like me doing my part in making sure that I'm being a positive influencer to, like, if not people my age, but younger.
Well, I was just gonna say, isn't that the whole reason why we started this podcast?
Yes,
Was
yes,
to
it
influence,
is. It
right?
is. I
And
don't know if we've ever actually told our listeners this. Maybe we have. I don't know. We're I don't know. We've talked about a lot of things, but if we have not talked about this, um, Alicia and I wish that we could tell younger girls so much that we wish that somebody was there to kind of tell us when we were younger. But there wasn't really a lot of platforms there, as we're mentioning now. There wasn't a lot of, unless like you knew somebody in the family or your friend and they just happened to have like positive life advice for you. There wasn't really much out there. There wasn't a lot of Googling, either back then, where you just sit. I remember I used to ask questions on like Yahoo. Do you remember like Yahoo
yeah,
Answers?
yep.
So I mean, that was like version of getting mentorship when we were younger. So Alicia and I just kind of wanted to create a platform where we could, talk about and help not just women our age, but, mainly younger as well. And hopefully we can pass on some life skills or life lessons that,
Mhm.
mistakes that we've made. So maybe they could not make them.
Yeah, definitely. Like the reality of life, right? Like we've heard it, maybe our parents said it, and nobody really listens to their parents when you're a teenager. But
Yeah.
just to know that, like, this is the raw life. This is like raw life. This is what happens when you're 30 or you're 20. This is the shit you go through,
Mhm.
and everyone either says high school is a great experience or it was a shitty experience. But
Yeah.
I've never really heard anyone say why, and we've all gone through it. I know you had a great high school experience. I hated high
Mhm.
school. And we are not that different,
Yeah.
So it's interesting because it's like, had someone told me maybe when I started high school not to do certain things and this is not the rest of your life, maybe I would have looked at it differently. But I
Mhm.
think I got caught up in other bullshit. And that's one thing. So, how you asked me before we started this topic is influencing. Maybe that's where I was influenced the most. And that's why I'm so against it in my like late, mid 20s to later 20s. I think in high school, I was trying to be somebody I wasn't. And maybe
Yeah.
that's why I
Were
hated
we
it so
all?
much. I don't know. Some girls look so natural at it. I can't even tell you, right? And maybe that's where I had the most influence, and that's why I refuse to do it now, to be influenced by
Yeah.
someone else, right? Um, and as an like watching influencers, I don't go run out and buy the product they're talking about, or I don't go change my life immediately to do what they're doing. But I kind of like to know that there's another alternative to try things out.
Yeah. I would definitely agree with you that I think high school was the time in my life where I feel like I was influenced the most.
Hmm.
Not right now in my life. Now I can be like, if someone wants me to do something, I could be like, yeah, fuck you, no. But I do think at that time, I was, just to give an example, like I was literally like, I got my license at 16 and I was probably driving to school before I even turned 17.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was like, and there weren't a lot of kids like that drove to school. There was like me and like maybe five other people. That's it, right?
Yeah.
And there were a lot of people that tried to suck up to me to get a ride home and stuff like that.
Unbelievable.
And they were friends, but not like, oh, so close friends. And I feel like, now I look back on it, I'm like, yeah, like, and then you know what it is? I knew at that time too, but I feel like I was getting influenced by the thought of like, okay, they want to be my friend, or like they want to be nice to me, or I want to like, I don't know like what exactly was going through on in my mind, but I remember knowing that I wanted to say no, like, fuck you. Like, you don't talk to me this much unless you need a ride kind of thing. So fuck off. But I wasn't that person. I felt like I was very influenced and I wanted to people please.
Yeah.
Like, and I wanted to be that nice, happy girl that's like, doesn't say like, no, like, fuck you, who's like very like, okay, I'll help you out. Like, fine, your house is on the way. I'll drop you home kind of thing. But I feel like the Raman now, if this was like 13 going on 30, like if I were going back in time, I'd be like, yeah, fuck you, go walk home, bitch.
That's funny.
Yeah, and like a lot of those things, I feel like, maybe I was trying to people please a lot, and that's why it was easier to get influenced because I felt like maybe if I didn't do something, then, somebody might not like me or like they might talk shit about me and stuff like that. And I think it was like a learning experience that your friends that will be there for you, whether what you say or what you do kind of thing. And that has never been truer because I still have my close girlfriends from high school. They're still like, most of them are still my friends today. And that's how life works. So I feel like I wish I could go back in time and not allow myself to get influenced, but it is
Mhm.
something you learn in time as well. But it's something like if you are in high school or younger, I would want to tell you that no, like don't do things for people because you're not going to be friends with a lot of you won't. I don't even remember half those people's names in high school. Like I
Yeah.
legit do not remember their names. Like if someone
I
like came in front of me tomorrow, I'd just be like, who the fuck are you?
Honestly, my high school life is totally blank. Like, I couldn't even tell you. But I remember, like, even skipping, and I was a
Yeah.
good kid, but instead I got influenced to skip, with
Yeah.
whoever I was hanging out with. Let's ditch and go to the mall or whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
Stupid shit like that. But I blanked out high school so much just because I think that's what it is, Raman. You're right. It's like being influenced and then not knowing that wasn't your true self,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and coming into maturity and realizing, well, we cut so many people out in our life to basically form it in the way that people only add value. Like, we only help each other as women now. We only like help and applaud and like cheer on each other
Mm-hmm.
now. And we probably cut out so many people because they never did. They still haven't till this day cheered us on or, applauded us for the little milestones to the big milestones. And that's the problem, right? And maybe
Yeah.
we don't see enough of that in social media either. So now, if I think about some of these influencers, some of them do, some of them are all for each other. They send each other gift care packages and, like, they send love to each other and they comment under each other's, like, YouTubes and stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
then there's a whole bunch of them that just are like, I'm the shit and that's it. Like, I don't need
Yeah.
to like your stuff. It's good enough if I get the likes. And that's the problem. And I think it's the other problem of these influencers that don't add value. So they're just
Mm-hmm.
posing and they're just showing you this is this great life. But really, there isn't. So, okay, so there's this couple that I followed. So they broke up because he cheated on her. Okay.
Ugh.
And she like went onto YouTube and talked about her entire breakup. Okay. So then she tried to move on, moved back home with her parents, really pretty Filipino girl. And then all of a sudden on social media, she's engaged. This is like
To
six
him.
months to a year later. Yeah. And Maya follows her, like follows them too. So Maya and I were talking. I'm like, whoa, she's engaged and she's back with him. She's like, yeah. Well, like 5 months later, they're in Hawaii, which is last week, and they're having their full out wedding. Okay.
Oh,
And I'm so confused. And I'm like, what? Like, what? She went on here to talk about how if you're in an abusive relationship or someone's cheating on you, you shouldn't stick around. You shouldn't do it. Like, have self respect. You don't need a man. She went and purchased her own home without him and everything. So I was like, what just happened?
yeah. You
So,
can't like kind of promote one thing and then do the other without giving some sort of an explanation to your
so
audience.
she did. So the
Okay.
week before her wedding, I YouTubed it. She had a full out live interview with one of these podcast girls, and
Mhm.
it was her and her husband or fiance at the time. And they talked about how to trust your partner after you've been cheated on.
Oh,
So I like
why
what
do
the
I feel like I saw that somewhere?
okay, so you might have. And I really like, and I'll send it to you if you haven't, but I really like what the girl, I forget who the podcast girl was, but she said the way she started it off with, she goes, Leanne, explain to me what it means to love yourself. And then she asked him the same thing.
Mm.
And I found that really interesting. And then they got into it of like, she's like, I loved myself when I was with him, but I fell out of love with myself. And then she goes, but then when I was alone, I loved myself even more. I learned to do the things that made me happy and really appreciate my life. And maybe I neglected him during the time or something happened, but I love myself and I love him. And then he went on to say, like, what he loves about himself and how he realized that without her, he was nobody.
Interesting. I think this might be one that I might have to watch
Yeah,
because
I'll
that is
send
an
it to you.
interesting like topic as well to like know, right? Like how do you move on after one person has cheated?
But
So
do you see what I
interesting.
mean? She was raw from the beginning. She took that platform to show everyone, listen, you saw us as a couple. I'm going to address the fact that, this is how our relationship went down. She showed the tears. She showed like her breaking down some weeks feeling alone.
Hmm.
And then she came out flat out. Not that my life is perfect and I have this beautiful ring and everything's fantasy. No, we worked through our problems. We went to therapy and this is where we are today.
Interesting. Do
Right.
you feel like I mean, like that's amazing that she shared it, but I'm glad that she also shared an explanation for her like what, like being back with him, because then I feel like that makes to me as an influencer, yeah, like your followers will start to question your judgment, and that's what also comes with having such a big platform, right? Like responsibility, like, you know, with
Yeah.
great gifts becomes, I mean, comes great responsibility. And I feel like with social media, did you watch that movie He's All That?
Okay, yeah, I did.
Okay, so you know how like she's basically an influencer
Yeah.
and how basically she's, you know, fake behind. Okay, I don't want to ruin the movie for anybody because it just came out
Yeah.
on Netflix, and guys, it was so good, so please watch it. It's a total chick flick. Um
Okay, wait. I have to ask you something.
okay.
What did you like better? He's all that or she's all that?
I think they were both different in their own ways. So She's All That is obviously a classic. I've seen it so many times.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like I liked this as for a change. I think, like, honestly, I can't choose between the two because I think the old one is classic romance love story. And this one was like more modern. I like how
Yeah.
they, you know, I like how they incorporated social media and like modern technology and
TikTok.
TikTok and all these things in it. And I liked that because this was like the modern love story and how maybe things would go down. And I like how they showed kind of, um the side of being an influencer. And you know, I'm not ruining anything by saying this here because this is like the first 5 seconds of the movie, but it shows that, you know, she's not really her true self and how she's projecting to be like, you know, she wakes up and then she gets herself ready before she goes on social media, and then she pretends to wake
Yes.
up and look like that, which is not really the reality. And you know, and I think when you are choosing your influencers and the people that you want to create a positive impact on your life, like what you mentioned, that sometimes you don't know if they're things that they're sponsoring, if they're true, and if those are things that they believe in, or if they're just promoting those products because, you know, they are getting paid lots of money for them. And that is the unfortunate truth. And I do think you have to find those influencers that are true, are honest, are raw, and are going to be beneficial to your life. Also, Instagram, I don't know when this came out with this rule, but they do have to, if you are sponsoring a product, they do
Yeah.
have to do a hashtag ad.
They do. That's true. And
Yeah.
it's true. One thing I want to point out about the movie, you're right. It's the she wasn't her true self, but even if it's when you look on social media and it looks like, oh, they bought this amazing beautiful big house. Oh my god, she has this big ring. Oh my god, she has this big wedding.
Hmm.
Not everything seems what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So a picture says one thing, but that doesn't mean it's the entire story. And I feel like I have some friends that get caught up in that and they don't
Hmm.
realize sometimes that you are in charge of your own goddamn destiny. So
Yeah.
just because all the 26-year-olds are getting married does not mean because you're 27, you're out of the norm.
Yeah.
And
100%.
people only post the good. 95% of the time, people are going to only post the good.
Yeah, like, and it's only like those raw influencers or people out there to really share their story that are honest, and there aren't that many out there like that. You're right.
And they're doing it for the right reasons. Like I've heard influencers talk on different podcasts and they say it. They're like, I'm doing this not for like, I didn't start to do this for the money. Just like you and I, we have not started this to do it to become like popular or anything
Hmm.
like that. We've done it just with the pure intention of wanting to reach as many people as we can that may be struggling or that we
I know.
can
I
help
hate when people
influence.
are like, "Oh, well, do you even make money?" And we're just like,
Yeah.
we're trying to help people.
Yeah, and if like that's not if we ever do, we'll be clear to our fans and tell them that. But for now, like this is something we that's dear to our heart. And I like influencers who admit that in the beginning that they're like, that's not what I was looking to do. I wasn't looking to make all this money. I was looking to just explore my passion, whether it be makeup or like a lifestyle, or to help others like learn what I had to learn, and let me show
Mhm.
them. Like how many times have I told you I had a YouTube to like watch something, to
Yeah.
like understand before I buy any product. Like I'm looking at all these products. I just bought hair products because I'm having hair issues still. I watched YouTube. And
Yeah.
I will watch more than one because I do believe there's some people who just do it for the money, and then there's actual people who will be honest with you. So that's why I find the need to watch more than one person, at a
Yeah.
time, because I don't trust the first person always. I need to actually know. Like, and then
Trust issues.
if you see the product hashtagged a million times, then they're in it for the wrong reason.
Yeah, that's right. Do you think like the people who get influenced quickly, um, and I know obviously it comes with age, but there are still a lot of older people who get influenced really quickly. So, and it's like, it's unfortunate because, it is a mindset that you have to recognize that, okay, like I'm doing things that are not really making me happy. I'm just doing it to please other people. But what do you really think causes people to continue to get influenced?
Sorry, you got cut off. What do I really
Oh,
think people?
What do you think causes people to get influenced so easily? Like, do you think people are out there to please others? Are they not happy?
Yeah, I think it's when they're not happy with themselves and have they lack confidence that they're easily persuaded by someone else or like okay, let's look at the beauty world. So let's say it's someone who's not feeling the greatest, maybe gained a few pandemic pounds, wants to look this filter perfect. And that's another thing, by the way. I'm loving that these makeup artists, especially in Ontario, are showing what their face looks like with a filter and what it doesn't look like without a filter. And I think that's such a huge thing because we've also come into this. I'm guilty of it. I know you are too. We've
Yeah.
come into this light where we're like, oh, let's take a selfie. Oh, it looks like shit regular. Let's add a filter on it to make it look better.
Yeah.
And, you
Those
know,
filters be too cute these days.
they're way too cute. And I wish I looked like that in real life, but reality is I have wrinkles, I got like, concealer creases, it happens. But then I feel like there's some woman out there that all their pictures are like Snapchat filters. And it's
Yeah.
like you lose yourself. You start to believe that you're this thing and you're not. And I think that's kind of like where that self-confidence issue comes in, and that's where they're persuaded the easiest. What do you think?
I definitely agree with you there. I think when I think about like times that I've gotten influenced easily, it was definitely to please people, not myself. Maybe putting others first, others' happiness, others' priorities before my own. And I think once you do start to love yourself and you put yourself first and your priorities first and your wants and needs, then it won't matter what other people are asking you to do or want from you or need from you. It's going to be, you're going to kind of output what you want. Um, and I think it's like, I hope that everybody gets in a place where they, don't get influenced easily and they can be in a place where now they're in a place where okay, they've recognized that I don't want to get influenced by others and they want to spread their positivity to other people. And I think that's like the most important thing to know that every interaction you have, whether it's like somebody on the street or, with the store cashier or with, somebody that might have opened the door for you or at the restaurant, at the mall, like anywhere you are in your everyday life, you have to make sure that you are putting an impact or an influence on somebody. So somebody could be having a bad day and maybe your kind gesture changed their day around. Or maybe if somebody's having a crappy day and then you decided that you're having a bad day, so you're going to be rude to everybody, and now you've made somebody's else's day maybe 10 times more worse than what you're even going through. So I think it's important that everybody understands that we all influence others in so many ways and we have to make sure that that influence is positive or you know like a good impact.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. So let's try to do more of that. Let's be more raw with our own friends. Let them know when you're struggling, so they
Hmm.
might be struggling too. We all put on a brave smile. And just like you said, do one kind gesture towards someone else to make their day because who knows what they're battling, right?
Exactly, 100%. And just if there's knowledge and education that you can pass on to others, do it.
Exactly. And if there's
Yeah.
anything, you'd like to share with us, we're always willing to hear your perspective, especially if you're around the world. We want to hear what you go through. We know so much about North America, but maybe you're somewhere else. I know we have a lot of listeners outside of Canada and America. So we'd love to hear kind of like what your day to day looks like too.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for listening. As always, you can email us at ramanandalysha@gmail.com. And if you are not following us on social media, you can follow us at Level Up with Raman and Alysha.
Yep. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening, everyone. Bye.
Bye.